Hello, Steve. Hello, Joe. It's time to game classy.
Hello.
Do I sound better now?
Yes. No.
There we go. Episode 300. Starting it off again because we haven't figured this out yet after 300 episodes.
No, you just tell them that we did figure it out.
I know, but I mean, we didn't start off figuring it out.
Oh, right.
I think it was because I actually started the meeting before I plugged in my microphone. I think that's part of the problem.
That makes sense.
Because 300 episodes, you think I would have figured it out by now.
Well, I mean, you never know. I mean, I know you're not using Discord, but tech programs are weird because every single time I ever do a voice call with Kevin,
yeah,
he has to fix the mic settings on Discord. Every time it resets. He has to just go back to the square one.
You know why? Because technology will never improve to the point where it's just so user friendly that it just works. It just never will.
It's true. There's always that there's always going to be that screw up thing. Although I have noticed that there's a lot of people who have no idea how shit works anymore.
Yes, those damn Zoomers don't know how anything works nowadays.
Oh, they don't know. Well, it's more like things have become so user friendly and so what is it, like in the drive to make things user friendly, they've also removed so much of the inner workings. So I know
exactly what you're talking about. It's so when we were growing up in the 90s, when we were growing up in the 90s, we had to, if we wanted to play a video game, you had to take your computer apart and add more memory, essentially.
It's basically.
And every time you were like, oh, well, this game doesn't want to work. Well, what do I have to do to get it to work? And then you would read the specs and be like, oh, I need a new graphics card. And then
my sound card isn't configured right.
Yeah, or my sound card isn't configured right. You'd have to figure it out. So you learned how an interior of a computer looked and worked, right?
Yeah.
So you can identify certain things and you know kind of how to troubleshoot things. But now it's because things are so user-friendly, we don't have to do that anymore. We just kind of try and figure it out on our own.
Right.
And of
course,
yeah.
And of course, if it doesn't work, now
No.
you can't figure out why it doesn't work because, unless you know contemporary computers, but it's like a different world. Like I look inside my computer now and I'm just like, I don't know what the fuck any of this shit is. And I used to build computers. Legit used to build computers pretty often. And it's now I'm just like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, I mean, like any Apple device or anything like that, it's just like, oh, you're fucked because you're not allowed to open them.
I installed and some stuff into my current computer. I get another SSD and then a couple other things. But computers are I don't know. It's they're very small now. That's all I'll say.
There's that, and my computer is very large. I wanted a big computer. It's like an extension of my penis.
I gotta have a big one.
I want the biggest computer you got. Big computers mean better, right?
Gotta be big.
It means it means it could do more. All right. Welcome to episode 300 of Game Classy. I am your host, Joe, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Steve.
Episode 300.
We should do it like Zack Snyder style, where it's like, we run up and then it's like slow motion, and then we talk about how bad games are.
That was the theme to Pacific Rim, not a Zack Snyder film.
I was going to say, I don't think that's 300.
It was.
I always want to. Whenever I think Zack Snyder, I think of actually the Wonder Woman theme of all like. But the thing is that he didn't even direct that movie. So
there you go. I mean, I thought of Pacific Rim, a film he also didn't direct.
he oversaw the DCEU.
Yes, for a short period of time. Yeah, he was.
Yes.
He was.
It wasn't a short time. It was a while. He was there for a couple years, at least half a decade. He was,
I think it's funny people couldn't make up their mind whether or not he was making good movies or bad ones.
Well, because I think he was at about the problem is that even his bad movies had good stuff in them for and they were superhero movies, so it's not necessarily like there's, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not necessarily like they're high art.
Yeah, we gotta go back to grading on the superhero curve.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of the thing we're looking at there. But yes, we're at episode 300, people. We have nothing major planned. We're going to go over just some fan well wishes and comments on things in the past. And I wanted to talk about a couple gaming things.
We did.
Let's talk first about Dungeons and Dragons might be sold. Have you heard this one?
Yeah, I heard the rumor.
Yes. So Dungeons and Dragons, once held by the great Wisconsin company TSR.
I like that you couldn't get through it. You could not finish the sentence without laughing.
Yes. Once held by the great Wisconsin company TSR and was sold to Hasbro in 1997, 98? Was it around then? I don't remember.
It was 93 or 4 or 5.
Was it? No, it couldn't have been that early.
When they sold to Wizards?
Yeah.
CSR was sold to Wizards. Sorry, 1997.
Yeah. See, I thought it was later.
Yeah,
It was 97.
And it was $25 million.
$25 million. God damn. Man, we could have raised that in this day and age, at the age of Kickstarter, Kickstarter or GoFundMe, we probably could have raised the capital to buy Dungeons and Dragons back then.
To put that into perspective, Dungeons and Dragons was sold in 1997 for $25 million. Let's inflate the cash to now. 25 million to or 1995 to now. So I'm going to do that, or 1997 to now, guys. I got to do that. Okay, so that's worth $48 million. So we'll round it up. We'll say $50 million.
Okay.
So we'll say it was $50 million is what they sold that to in 2022. D&D produced $150 million in revenue.
Yeah, I mean it's
1 year. In 1 year. So there you go. So in 1 year, it made 3 times the amount of money it was purchased for in just a single year.
And
there you go.
Just a single year. Yeah.
Just a single year.
But yeah, and then Dungeons and Dragons Wizard of the Coast was of course sold to
Hasbro,
which is the biggest game toy company on the planet.
Yeah, that happened in 1999. That one I remember.
Was it 99? Was it really that early?
1999, Hasbro bought Wizard of the Coast.
I thought it was a little later than that, but there you go.
1999. That is one fun fact I know immediately.
And then we go through the history of Dungeons and Dragons with Hasbro. 4th edition.
I actually like 4th edition.
They did 3.5 first.
Yes.
And then, 4th edition wasn't bad if you like MMOs, though.
I keep. Well, that's what I'm saying. I keep telling people that the way that they play Dungeons and Dragons was super conducive to 4th edition, but I've realized that people don't like it because it's like, what is it? I know there's like a colloquialism about it. Like it's like looking into the mirror. It's like they see their reflection in the game and they hate it. I think that's what it is.
It's the quantum leap meme, essentially. You know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, like, and I'm not even kidding because like if you watch how like human beings play Dungeons and Dragons, almost universally, like if you just look, you will see that the way people play is like, why aren't you just playing 4th edition? So many times it's just like, why aren't you just playing 4th edition? Like, and I'm not even like, I'm not exaggerating. I'm not trying to like embarrass or like deride anyone. It's just that edition is actually how people interact with the game. Because when someone takes their turn in Dungeons and Dragons, almost universally, they look for a rule to use and they apply that rule. That's all they do. Like there's like the art of like creative role playing is not common. Most people, they look at their character sheet and they try to apply something from their character sheet. So if you're doing that and that's how you play, there's really nothing wrong with that. It's, it is a game ostensibly after all. Like there are rules for a reason. If you want to use some level of rules, because otherwise you could just sit in a circle and tell a story. But it's like, if that's how you're playing, just use 4th edition, because 4th edition has a shit ton of rules for you to use, because that is how the game is designed. Like it's got like special attacks, it's got combos, it's got all sorts of set up. Like that's how you're playing the game. Just play it 4th edition style.
The problem with that, and this is what I've come to learn and I've come to realize, is that as a dungeon master, though, you don't want to be a computer. You don't want to be, I'm not a computer. You don't want to sit there.
That's true.
And be like, and the Murlocs approach. The Murlocs are standing 30 feet from you, going. One throws a spear. It hits you for 2 damage. You know, that's what it becomes in 4th edition. Like in 4th edition is not conducive to role playing. 4th edition is conducive to combat.
Yes, but that's I've talked about this before as well. But one of the best systems that I've seen for like
GURPS.
No. No, you probably have not even heard of this system. But one of the best systems I've seen for investigation, just period in general, is called Gumshoe.
Oh, I know Gumshoe.
Yeah. Gumshoe. It's kind of old, like early 2000s or like mid 2000s. It's a very, very good system because what it is it's designed. The whole point is it's designed that like if anyone's ever tried to run a mystery in an RPG, that shit's hard. It's really hard to do everything like based
Just
on
ask
dice
Kenneth
rolls.
Branagh. Look at his last 3 movies.
It's like it's hard to do like to get all the clues, so on and so forth, blah blah blah. But so Gumshoe is literally made to be like a mechanical system that's conducive to like investigations and social situations, right? And then there's Pathfinder, of course, which is like the fucking most crunchy ass RPG you could possibly think of. When this came out, because I've heard so much about the current edition of Pathfinder that it's like quite different apparently. So I kind of want to look into it. I must admit I dismissed looking into the newest edition of Pathfinder simply because I was like, I know what this is, and it turns out that I might not. But anyway, so that rambling diatribe aside, there is a system called Lore Finder. Lore Finder. Lore, like you're finding the lore.
Yeah, like you're finding Data's brother.
Yes. You're finding Data's brother. So, what that is it's literally a mashup between Pathfinder and Gumshoe. And the reason this is relevant to 4th edition is because when you're running social investigation, or like basically if you do not have minis on the table and you're not running combat, you are using the Gumshoe system in Lore Finder. Lore Finder, like basically it gives you rules on how to set up character sheets to make it all work. But when it's not combat, you're essentially using a separate character sheet. And you're using the rules for Gumshoe to do your investigation and your social stuff and like, to do your role-playing segment. And then when it goes to the fights, when an encounter happens, then you basically like turn your character sheet over and you have your fucking stat blocks for Pathfinder and you grind out the fight that way. So if you're doing 4th edition, just find something different to do the non-combat parts.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, or you could actually play your D&D game as famous detectives, each with their own class. Like, so Sherlock Holmes would be your fighter, right?
I mean, that would be lit too.
Miss Marples could be a wizard.
Hell yeah.
Let's see.
What about Agatha Christie?
Agatha Christie is the DM. Agatha Christie is the writer who created it. So like Hercule Poirot, he might be an artisan.
Okay.
Or then you could have, I don't know, MacGyver. No, MacGyver would be that. MacGyver would be your artisan. Yeah. I don't know why I'm throwing MacGyver with Sherlock Holmes, but sure, let's go for it. Jim Rockford could be a monk, I think. There you go.
Nice.
I want to. Who's Columbo? I've played characters like Columbo. I think I've played Columbo in every class in D&D at this point.
What about Easy Rollins?
What's Easy Rollins from?
He's from Devil in a Blue Dress.
Oh, the Devil in a Blue Dress. Like what?
Yeah,
I don't know that. What the hell are you? Are you pulling out some like obscure thing?
Oh, no.
Is this an anime?
No, I thought it. I guess I underestimated how popular Easy Rollins is as a detective character. He was in he was played by Denzel Washington in a film. Does that count?
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, I feel bad about this because he is a African American private investigator, and we are in day 3 of Black History Month. Devil. Okay, I know this. All right.
Yeah. Devil in a Blue Dress. It was a movie. It was
way to derail that joke, Steve.
I'm sorry. I was trying to just put up another character.
We were chugging along perfectly. It was like chicka 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 chicka, and then all of a sudden, cow on the train tracks.
Well, I guess we'll just have to. Easy Rollins will just always be that. He'll
Easy
be the
Rollins will be in your heart.
He'll be
but
the
not in our
albatross.
minds.
He'll be the albatross.
The albatross around episode 300.
Yes, yes, yes.
No, we yeah. So anyway, we're getting back with the Dungeons and Dragons stuff because you went on your fucking diatribe about 4th edition that nobody likes. So
yes, I love.
you
4th
are
edition.
literally howling into the wind.
I love 4th edition. No, there's a 4th edition Renaissance.
Now it's not.
There is. It's
There is
happening.
no 4th edition Renaissance.
There's a 4th edition Renaissance.
Two people does not make it a Renaissance.
It's a Renaissance.
You saying there's a Renaissance is just like you're trying to create a 4th edition Tulpa.
I am
There's
gonna.
not enough people to bring that Tulpa to life, Steve.
I'm making the tulpa. It's funny.
That's what I firmly, but I'll get back to what we were talking about. But I firmly believe Donald Trump is a Tulpa at this point.
He's
Of
the tulpa.
every idiotic American psychic thought put into one being.
Yeah, I could see it.
Like he is literally a tulpa. And that's what, and I guarantee you, because David Lynch listens to our podcast, he's going, that's exactly what I've been saying.
Yeah, David Lynch knows. Hey, it's a tulpa.
He's a tulpa.
Where's my donut?
So anyway, the Wizards of the Coast division of Hasbro has denied that a Chinese news report that Hasbro could be selling its Dungeons & Dragons franchise to Tencent. And Tencent, of course, is the Chinese super mega conglomerate where they buy up everything.
Yeah, Tencent is one of the biggest companies in the world.
Yeah.
They're absolutely massive. They own so much shit, obviously, and of course, we say they're a Chinese company, but of course they're founded in the Cayman Islands.
Of course.
Yeah, don't forget that. But yeah, so they're one of the largest venture capitalist corporations that exists. If you've played anything, you probably know you've probably played Tencent. Like you don't even know you've played a Tencent product. That's their level of reach. Like if you've ever played a video game, you've probably played a Tencent product. But to give you to give you an idea, I'm just gonna go super fast. Funcom, Riot Games, Sumo Group, Visual Arts, Turtle Rock Studios, Wake Up Interactive, Inflection Games, Techland, Tequila Works, Clay Entertainment, Jaeger Development, Fat Shark, Minclip, Supercell, Grinding Your Games Don't Nod, Epic Games, that's Fortnite, by the way, Pocket Gems, C Limited, Bloober Team, they're the guys who made they're making Silent Hill 2 remake and it looks like fucking ass. Marvelous from Japan, Shift Up, South Korea, Netmarble, From Software, I'm sure everyone's heard of that, the people who made fucking Dark Souls, Kako, Ubisoft, Krafton, Frontier Developments, Katakawa Corporation, Paradox Interactive, Remedy Entertainment. So a lot of those names you might not know, but I guarantee you've played or watched something that company has made. So yeah, Tencent is an impossible to escape megacorp.
Yes. So the only thing that can take them down is a spunky group of cyber hackers.
This is true.
Yes. As we know, we could run that game, but it's probably owned by Tencent. So
yeah, we have to we have to pay them the dividends to run the game.
Yeah.
They're massive. Yeah, they're absolutely massive. I don't think D&D is a very odd purchase for them. That's all I'll say. Like, could they buy it? Absolutely. Tencent has infinite money. So like their equity has to be in like the hundreds of billions of dollars at this point. So like,
here's the thing, and I could believe that in exactly what you're saying for two things. One, I mean, it's kind of contradictory. Why would Hasbro sell something that made $125 million last year, right? Or how much? 150 million?
150 million, yeah.
$150 million last year. Right now, it probably does not they're probably at least making 100 million off of whatever. It probably costs 50 million to put out whatever they're putting out for the year, with printing and shipping and all that stuff, paying everyone. So let's say that's a $50 million investment a year, but they're making back 100 million on that. And they're like, you would be like, as a person, as a normal human being, I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense, because you probably that you could make that much in perpetuity if you just keep on putting out a quality product. However, Tencent could come in and be like, we will give you $2 billion for Dungeons and Dragons. Like that's
now,
yeah.
Here is something that does make sense for Tencent. Purchasing exclusive rights to something digital for Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
So
But-
now
and-
that I could see like video games, like I could see a Tencent, like Tencent does gotcha games. That's one of the many things they do. But I could absolutely see Tencent creating a successful Dungeons and Dragons gotcha game. That I can see.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing I was going to say is that Hasbro over the last 2 years has had a major stumbling blocks with Dungeons and Dragons. Even though Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, as much as we might not like it as an RPG, A, it's a quality product. B, it's consistently updated and supported. And C, it's still majorly popular.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Baldur's Gate 3 alone elevated how much popularity it has, and that would actually that would be something that would get the attention of Tencent because and the reason the whole reason I was rambling about that is because Tencent's they're a tech company. They're very much digital stuff. So like social media platforms, video games.
Who reads books?
And yeah, I mean, that's exactly why I thought it would be super weird for them to buy Dungeons and Dragons because I'm like Tencent, they haven't even thought of a book.
Yeah. So yeah, they don't read. No one reads.
Yeah.
And so what I wanted to add to that was that I think hold on just 1 second.
Sure. And while I'll take this thing, just to put it in perspective, anyone, Wells Fargo, the bank, Tencent is worth more than Wells Fargo, the bank. That's just to give you.
But what about Wachovia?
What the fuck is a Wachovia?
That's another bank. Wachovia, whatever. No, what I was going to say is that Hasbro is having it could make sense because Hasbro is having a shit year. Dungeons and Dragons, anything they are trying to do with it to make money, they're getting intense fan pushback. I mean, literally, look at everything that they've tried to do, and it's just like the OSR debacle.
Oh yeah, they've literally they tried to monetize it, but they tried to monetize it like fucking assholes.
Yeah. Well, and it's like the only and like okay, so you have the OSR debacle, you have 6.5 and 5.56 edition. There's a lot of like they can't pull the trigger on anything on that because A, it was announced years ago, and B, they haven't really done anything with it. Like there's no release dates, there's nothing.
Oh, that's because so here's something here's one thing that is I don't know if I say troubling, but there's a pervasive rumor that I have no evidence of, or I just know it's a rumor. So this is a tabletop game rumor, so you take it with a boulder of salt. But the rumor is that the new edition is going to be almost solely focused as a digital experience. So with that rumor, and now this rumor of Tencent, maybe there is something to it. I don't know.
There could very well be. Yeah, and it's I know a lot of people enjoy playing it digitally. I mean, I'm not poo-pooing that. I'm old school. I think playing via Zoom is probably the closest that I will get to a digital D&D experience. If I have to log on to something and like with digital avatars, no, I don't want to do that. I don't. It's just dumb to me. I'd much rather just hang around a table, passing around chips and drinking Mountain Dew, bullshitting with people. I think that's a much more fun experience than playing online. I think the digital experience, though convenient, is very cold.
Yeah, I like I don't know. I mean, I have not seen a digital platform yet that I think is good enough that I would say, hey, like you should do this instead.
I agree. I've never seen anything where I'm like, hey, this is a great experience, and like this is way better than sitting around a table with your friends.
Yeah, I can't say what. Yeah, I mean, Baldur's Gate 3 is fucking phenomenal. Like that game is super good. Like I haven't even played it yet, but I've watched so much content of it. I'm like, oh my fucking god, I have to play this game. I need to set aside the time that I know that game is gonna fucking kill of mine.
Yeah,
because it is absolutely going to murder my fucking time. I know it. I'm gonna fucking so I've been avoiding it actually, but
no,
yeah.
and that's totally legit. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, there are some people that just can't get a play group to sit together. I'm incredibly lucky. My play group, I got 5 people with 2 waiting in the wings who want to join in. We play about once a month. And it's it's based on convenience.
So that all said, if they found a way for a DM to easily manipulate something that looked like Baldur's Gate and create a tabletop experience from that, like, yeah, you're gonna that would be incredible. But I mean, there's just like the closest that I know of was that would be Neverwinter Nights, and that was like very labor
Oh
intensive.
God, Neverwinter Nights was what, 95?
Yeah, well, that's the last thing I could think of where they had like a full, like, you could make a campaign and have people play through it digitally. That was the only one I could think of.
No, you're right. That did exist back in the day. And then didn't they fuck over Neverwinter Nights? They did something with it where they changed it, and it was like a huge issue. I never played it, so.
It wasn't necessarily that. It was the I think it was Neverwinter Nights 2. One of them, like, one of the games just fucking sucked.
Yeah,
That's what it was. It wasn't like a ha mustache twirling, we've fucked you over. It was like, might have been 2. I don't remember. There was a thing. You are correct. There was a thing. I just don't remember what the thing was.
There was a thing. It had a thing. I don't remember what the thing was.
Yeah, I don't remember what the thing was. I do not remember what the thing was.
All right, enough talk about Dungeons and Dragons. The only thing that we talk about in this podcast has been around longer than our podcast.
Enough talk. Have at you.
Have at you. So let's I want to talk about the old world for a second. I think my wife is leaving just a second. You leaving? Yeah. You taking Joey? Nope. All right. Okay. All right. So the old world. I finally got a couple games in. And I wanted to give my initial retort to the game.
Let's go.
So, Steve and I have been slobbing at the knob. We've been gobbling at the knob, kind of in honor of.
Oh, that knob's been gobbled.
Yes, it's 2023 and 2024, and we still call it Gobbler's Knob. Like, they should have changed the name a long time ago.
What's wrong with Gobbler's Knob?
Gobbler's Knob. That's where the groundhog is.
Yeah, I know. I want it to be Gobbler's Knob.
I know. It's just like.
I mean, what are you going to call it? Like the Goon Mound?
Well, that would be 2024. Yes. 2024, we would have changed it to the Goon Mound. The Goon Mound.
The Goon.
So, anywho, the game is nearly identical to 6th edition in terms of play. Maybe not 6th edition. I'll say it's nearly identical to 7th edition in terms of play. I enjoy it quite a bit. I liked my game that I had. The changes to the magic system and combat system really, really refreshed, or I should say, our combat resolution have really refreshed the game. Mm. I really, really liked that magic is very optional at this point. Like, you don't even need to bring a wizard if you don't need to. Like, I always felt in previous editions, if you did not bring a wizard, you were fucked. So so you could at least have a dispel scroll. No, you don't even really have that this edition. You probably want to, because it's a little fun to have during the magic phases. Your little boobobs and gambits and everything else. But I don't really think you need a wizard. But the magic system feels good. It's easy. It's super easy to use.
Yeah, I mean that was always one of the biggest problems with Warhammer is that magic was either like your army either had OP magic or it was garbage. There was no middle ground.
Now, I've been mostly playing smaller games, so maybe on a larger scale, magic becomes much more important. But I feel if you're hitting that level, you probably want to bring a wizard anyway. And I'm talking
if you're playing a full-size game, you want to bring a wizard.
I've been mostly looking at 1250 to 1500 points just to kind of learn the system.
Yeah, I mean, I'd want to bring a wizard at like two. Well, I mean, I guess it also depends on your army too. Like some armies need wizards a lot more than others.
So here's some things that I really, really like. Okay. One, I already talked about the magic. 2, I really like combat. The combat system has changed a bit. So now anyone in your front rank who is not in combat gets 1 attack. So you know how it used to be, if you were touching the enemy, you got to attack them, but anyone on like the sides that weren't touching the enemy never got to attack, right?
Yes.
So if you have like a 5-man unit going up against an 8-man, 5-man frontage going up against an 8-man frontage, you might be able to get 6 attacks in with the 8-man, and then you'd have 2 guys who are not doing anything.
Yeah, the 8-man's going to miss some attacks for sure.
Yes, the 8-man's going to miss. And there's some guys who are just hanging out on the sides. Now those guys get extra attacks, right?
So everyone in the front rank fights, essentially?
Everyone in the front rank fights.
That's good.
So anyone who's got a single attack, so like an Empire swordsman, now everybody in the front rank attacks for them. So, and here's why this is important. You might be like, oh, well, you know, it's only going to be like 2 extra attacks. It's not that big of a deal.
No, I can hear a huge amount of extra attacks.
Yeah, well, in fantasy, yes. But here's the thing. So heavy infantry, so anything that's on a 30 mil base, essentially.
Chaos warriors.
So maybe Chaos Warriors. So like, let's think Black Orcs, right?
Yes.
So Black Orcs count as heavy infantry. They get rank bonus with 4-man frontage. Okay.
Yes.
Empires. Yeah. Anybody who's on a 25 mil base, let's say an Empire infantry, has to have a 5-man frontage to get rank bonus. Okay. So, and rank bonus is, there's no longer +3 rank bonus. It only goes up to max +2. So there was no reason to take anything deeper than 4 ranks, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
In theory. So for an Empire swordsman, a 20-man unit is probably pretty good. You got a 5-man frontage, you got 4 ranks deep, and there you go. That's nothing more than 4 ranks deep. You never want to go deeper than that.
Correct.
And Orcs is the same way. 16 might be ideal for you. But if you go higher than that, let's say you do a 24-man unit of Empire swordsmen, you get that extra thing on the side as well, and then you're going up against a 4-man Orc frontage. Now you're getting 6 attacks to their 4 attacks. It's pretty interesting how you can manipulate those 2 rules and justify it as well. So there's no like great idea. There's no well, not, I don't want to say meta idea, but there's no like gaming the system to say this is infinitely better than this.
No, but the one of the best things about that too is that also makes some of the old there used to be some really old like narrow configurations that were like kind of okay sometimes, like the 10-man frontage 2-hand weapon Khorne warriors. Yeah, I don't know if you remember that. Like that was a unit that was like, sometimes that unit was fucking great, and other times it was really bad, based on, you know, things like that. But now the 10-man Khorne warriors unit will just work.
Yeah,
like if you have a 10-man frontage, they'll all attack.
So I was hypothetically thinking, you know, if you had, let's say, a 10-man frontage of swordsmen, Empire swordsmen with 2 ranks, so like 20 men, but it's only 2, the front rank and the back rank, right? So you would get hypothetically +1 for rank in a banner, and you'd get 10 attacks in the frontage, right?
Right.
But just leave your frontage super open, so you're probably going to get multiple charges against you. But it's just like, and that's like the exact reason not to do it. You're like, oh man, I can have 10 attacks in the front, but all of a sudden my front is super open, so I'm going to get multiple units charging me at the same time. It's great strategic thinking in terms of like a fun popcorn game.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Yeah, it's not like this is like deep thought. We're going to, oh my God, this is, you know, going to revolutionize the system. This is more of like, oh, this is kind of fun to think about. You know, this is kind of some fun word hammer. Mm. So that's really great. And then afterwards, combat resolution changed, and we talked about it, about like, you know, giving ground and running, and like how now there's a middle one where if you run in combat, right, and you roll over your leadership but under your standard leadership, so if your standard leadership is a 10 but with modified you had to roll a 7 and you roll an 8, you run. If the enemy does not catch you, you auto reform at the end in the beginning of the next turn.
Yeah,
does that make sense? So it's like, oh, now they can't necessarily just keep charging you and you're running off the field if you don't reform past your leadership. You auto reform. It's amazing.
The breaking and just like your unit just being completely destroyed is gone. Like that's not happening anymore.
Also, what's cool is initiative changed. And I didn't really know this till I read the rule book, but for every inch you charge, you get a +1 to your initiative. So if you go,
I didn't even see that. That's awesome.
that is fucking phenomenal, and it's phenomenal for certain armies. So if you have like great weapon dwarves and you get a charge off,
Yeah,
you're
that's awesome.
and you get great weapons. You don't have, it's not necessarily always strikes last. You have a -2 to initiative, right?
Mhm.
But if you charge, that disappears. So you're just going off your normal initiative. Well, dwarves have shitty initiative, so that's a terrible terrible example.
Oh, I mean,
But-
a big charge giving them initiative would be great, because that means that their terrible initiative is not going to be terrible, and they're gonna possibly strike first with great weapons, which is awesome.
Well, yeah. So like Empire Great Swords, that's a great example of that.
Yeah.
So they have decent initiative, or Elf Sword Masters, another one, High Elf Sword Masters. It's like you can charge in, and you hypothetically could have higher initiative than your enemy with a great weapon, but you have to like look. The stars have to align for you, and that's what makes it cool. Like, it's not necessarily like, well, I'm going to do this and it's all scientific. It's like, no, there's like so many hypotheticals that go in the way that it's never a guarantee, and it's cool.
Yeah.
I love that. So like my scenario that I'm thinking that I want to describe overall is that if you charge into combat, and the enemy loses, right? But they pass their leadership, they get knocked back 2 inches, that pushback, right?
Mhm.
And then on the next turn, like if it's the enemy's turn, you didn't break them, they can charge in 2 inches into you, and they get +2 to their initiative charging into you, and you didn't break them. Does that make sense? What I'm talking
Yeah.
about?
Oh, yeah. No. There's a back and forth.
There's a back and forth push. So it's like, oh, well, I got beat this turn, but I passed my leadership, so I get knocked back. But guess what? I'm going next. So my guys get to charge in, and I get my chops with the +2 initiative. It's
Okay.
it's
I
a
like it.
neat. Yeah, I like it too. I like how that feels, even in my head. It doesn't feel crunchy. It feels really organic, if that's the right word I want to use.
Okay. Yeah. No, I dig it.
Yeah.
It's got
So
good mouthfeel.
it has a really, really good mouthfeel. Also, some stuff I never really got to try out, but I do like and I want to try out soon is reformations. So when you have a type of you can change your formations. Several units can change their formations. So you could hypothetically move the amount of frontage you have on your units to create a marching order, and you could march up to 3 times your movement. So for, I don't know, what are humans, I think, are movement 4. So it's like you can move 12 inches on a march instead of 8. And then you can reform to create a combat order the next turn for half your movement, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And there's certain upgrades you can give units, or that come with the upgrade, that you can do that automatically without wasting your movement. So it's like at the beginning of your turn, you reform for free, and then you could move and attack or charge or anything like that. It's super neat.
I'm very excited. Hopefully my we'll see how good my Etsy army is.
Yes.
It's coming.
I mean, I was in playing my games, and I know this probably to most people who are listening are like, oh my God, they're talking about the dumbest things ever. But it's these little nuancy things that I really, really enjoyed with this game. And I think it's really good. Now, I've only really played with dwarves and orcs at this point, so I've only really coming from those perspectives. Let me tell you this, Steve, though, chariots are good this edition.
Nice.
They're good. Yes, they could still, like, light chariots can still take a lot of damage and might not be effective, but I'll tell you, getting off that charge with the +2 initiative and everything, oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds great. I mean, that would be huge for the skeleton chariots too,
Because you had terrible initiative too, right?
oh yeah, they're garbage. Skeletons
Yeah.
are like initiative 2.
Yeah.
they're ass.
Yes, but if you get off that charge, you're initiative 4 with your attacks.
Yeah, that's gonna be great. That's I really like. That's such a fucking that's a I don't want to stroke GW's wang doodle too much, but God, that's a fucking genius change.
I know, right?
that's something I never even considered that, but man, that's a fucking genius change.
Yes, exactly. That's how I feel about it. It's like, man, that is a genius change. All right. But that's kind of my feelings on the old world so far. So I know, gobbling the knob is what we've been doing lately with the old world, but everything about this game so far, I've just enjoyed watching the release, watching like what they're doing with it. another thing that they're doing is they're re-releasing the old models. So like out of print, old models are getting like print to order, which are great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like why not? Why?
There's some medals, which
Yeah.
the medals were expensive, but I was kind of surprised that they were not as expensive as I had thought.
No, you know what though? They totally catch up with inflation. So like the Bretonian on Pegasus, $40. He originally sold for like 25, and if you look for like at the change in inflation, it matches. Like I think it was like 35 what I saw. So they're selling it for 40. It's not that much more.
Yeah, they actually they just pushed the price forward.
Exactly. Also, Steve, let me tell you this: flying units are fucking broke this edition.
Flying units
I'm-
are usually pretty broken.
Yeah, I mean anything to get around to a rear charge is insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
If you could take a flying unit, I think that would be the one thing that I would say is a must in this edition. You have to have something that can get around to the flanks and
Yeah,
the rear.
Flying units were generally always pretty nasty. So yeah, maybe that means that Carrion will be useful for Tomb Kings.
Yeah, no, not bloody likely.
Yeah, no, not Blade. Like they were always the worst unit in the army by a lot.
By a long run.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, I think it's orcs are the next ones that are up. So maybe it might be a double. Well, I want to see if it's going to be a double release or a single release. So is it going to be orcs and dwarves, or is it just going to be orcs and then they'll do dwarves later?
Yes,
It'll be interesting to see. But the funny thing, I think the funniest thing that I've dealt with the old world release is the number of people who are saying, I'm going to play Bretonians. And it's like, no, you're not. You're not playing Bretonians.
A whole lot of people bought Bretonians, so maybe.
I know a whole lot of people bought Bretonians, but the second they realize they got to paint Bretonians, they ain't painting Bretonians.
I mean,
No,
no. Hang on. I just want to throw one thing out there. How is that different than any other army?
no, because Bretonians, you have to paint every horse. Like they're gonna want to paint every horse differently. You don't have to. You could paint every horse with red tabards and then be done with it. But they ain't doing that. They're going to want to do heraldry and all that stuff. And they will paint one horse and be like, no fucking way.
Yeah, but
that is called the history of Bretonia right there.
They're just not going to paint it just like they're not going to paint any other army.
that could very well happen too. Could very well happen. And Bretonians are pretty busted. In the traditional GW canon, they have made the new armies essentially the best to buy. The armies that no one had, they're making the best.
I mean, that's good. From what I've seen, the initial the armchair Grognards, they all think that the game is pretty well balanced so far. The guys, these are the guys who are obsessed with just breaking it. That's like all they want to do is break the game.
Oh my god, the sweat lorning has been awful lately. I'll talk about that in a second. Anyway, continue.
The consensus is everything seems to be pretty balanced. There is not a clear this is the best army at the moment. It seems like the armies are quite good, except for Warriors of Chaos, which, depending on who you talk to, Warriors of Chaos are the most dogshit, terrible army in the game by far, or they're the literal best army in the game.
Well, I mean, either way, that's good.
So people can't agree on that one. But other than that, it seems that most people feel that the game balance seems pretty okay. And looking at the way that they're doing the books, or rather, I don't know, whatever we're going to call these things that aren't codexes, I think it's going to be really easy to maintain a very healthy balance of the game because they're not doing. Basically, the army stuff is, in case you have not looked at any of the old world things. So before, the way armies worked is, you bought your Wood Elf, you had your GW core book, and you buy your Wood Elf Codex, and then that has all your Wood Elf army book that has all your fucking rules in it. Blah 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 blah. So what they did for this edition is they released that Ravening Hordes and the forces of what are the forces of order? Is that what they call them?
Yeah, the forces of
the good guy book.
Yeah.
Forces of Fantasy. That's what it is. So
Forces of Fantasy and Ravening Hordes.
Yes. Ravening Hordes are bad guys. Forces of Fantasy are good guys. So what they did is those little books, that Bretonian book, you can't use that Bretonian book by itself. You
No.
have to have the Forces of Fantasy book.
Yep.
And the reason that I think that's genius for balance is because the balance is all written together. Like everyone got their rules at the same fucking time. Like
Mm-hmm.
the Forces of Fantasy are your core rules. What the army books do is they fuck with your selections. Like they fuck with what you can pick and what counts as what, which is great because it's like, oh, you have you want to play the Tomb King focused list? Cool. You get a special unit of Tomb Guard chariots as a core choice. Like that's the kind of shit you'll get.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really hard for them to, just like accidentally snap break the game by releasing one of those like supplement books. It's just very unlikely.
No, and it's part of the reason why I think Horus Heresy is as good as it is, because it's pretty similar in release. Not exactly. I like the little arcane journals. I was hoping that they would do that for Horus Heresy for each of those armies, and if these arcane journals work, they probably will do that. But I'm telling you, if you like old school GW, you like 6th edition fantasy, and you like 3rd and 4th edition 40K, play Horus Heresy, play Old World. Like that is the games of your youth. Like let these youngins play 40K in Age of Sigmar. Yeah.
The Utes.
Oh my god! And like the sweat lording right now, like I'm playing a Bretonnian lord. What's the most optimal outfit for this? And every time I just want to say, game classy rule, shut the fuck up. Just play what you want to play.
Play whatever you want to model on your lord.
Exactly. Like don't like this optimal bullshit. It's like, you know how unfun that is?
Play what you want to model on your lord. If you're taking a Tomb King with the Destroyer of Eternities, take that because you want to make a Tomb King with the Destroyer of Eternities.
Yeah. The dwarves have a magic armor rune that gives them toughness 10, which basically makes them unkillable, right?
Yeah, toughness 10's insane. That's super strong.
Yeah. I mean, you're literally, so like I can load out my dwarf lord with a shield bearers, which give them, I think, +3 wounds. I can make them toughness 10, and I could still give them a great weapon with a couple runes that make them strike first. And it's like, that's,
I mean, and hell yeah, that's exactly how dwarves are supposed to. Like dwarves were always supposed to be like that. Like dwarf characters, that was the one thing. Even when dwarves were like a shit army, one of the things that dwarves always had going for them, and they should, because they have a lot of drawbacks for it, is that their characters are fucking nuts.
They're actually
always one of the things with dwarves.
There's a super cheap rune you can give to your characters that lets all dwarves move through cover.
That's really good too.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Anyway, but that's getting to sweat lordy. But I just wanted to say that it's like, if you see these people in the wild that are asking for what's the optimal output, and it's been pretty good. I know that started with Horus Heresy, where people would say like, what's the optimal outfit for this person? It's just people saying whatever you want is the optimal output. Don't ask these questions. But seriously, people need to start pushing back on these people saying, don't ask these stupid questions. No one wants to play you if you're going to be like this.
Yeah, we got to gatekeep a little.
We got to gatekeep just a little bit, but not in like, it's got to be like almost like a toxic positivity, but not quite toxic positivity. It's got to be like toxic. It's got to be like, I don't know, like positive gatekeeping.
Yes.
Where it's like, I don't know what would be the proper term for it.
So one of the good things they did too is they also made a universal 3-unit max.
Oh, that's for tournaments though.
Right, but I mean everyone's gonna use those rules. Like the tournament rule set becomes the casual rule set, like pretty consistently. So that's gonna be something that you're gonna see enforced kind of everywhere.
You are absolutely correct on that.
And that is extremely important, simply because like I said before, like one of the quickest things that can break a game is like the MSU. That was the first thing. Like that's the first thing I always think of. Like I'm like, ah, shit. Like, am I going to get annoyed by someone taking 25-man units?
Yeah.
Like, so them immediately being like, you can't do that. It's like, oh, cool. like, great.
They're
good.
In looking at the game and looking at how it's set up, if you're taking more than 3 units of anything, you shouldn't be playing this game. You are a sweat lord and you're awful. No, and that's serious though. And that's serious. Like if you're taking like 4 orc boy units, like even that, which they're not great, but you're still sweat lordy. You're trying to do something that really defeats the purpose of the game.
Yeah, just play 40K. Like if that's what you want to do, just play 40K.
Exactly. Just play 40K. Just go play Age of Sigmar, play 40K, play anything else.
No, being super competitive Age of Sigmar makes you lose friends fast. 40K is the only. If you want to be like a total miniature lord sweat, like the only option is 40K.
Yeah, I get you know what, you're right.
Like people will not play you if you play like a super dickhead army in Age of Sigmar. Like they will not stand for it.
All right. And so let's we are at episode 300 here, folks. Not that it's just an arbitrary number. We've been doing this podcast for over 10 years at this point.
God damn.
We've been doing it for 13 years, I think.
God damn.
Because I think we started in 2011, maybe ish. I think that's when we started. The heady days of Obama. We've outlasted we've been through 3 presidents, Steve.
Wow. Look at us.
And how many British prime ministers? At least 6 at this point, right?
I don't know. I'm so charmingly befuddled.
Yes, we have I know we got to live through the rise and fall of Theresa May. That was always fun. So we got Brexit. We had Donald Trump. We had a lot going on. The last decade sucked. Well, you know, the 2010 to 2020 sucked. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Yeah. I mean, can you just say that for about any span of time?
I will say that the 90s were fun, and didn't suck, but the 90s were very shrill and empty.
Okay.
Yeah.
They were also extreme.
They were extreme, yes. I mean, I look at the 90s as a very positive experience for me. I really love the 90s. People who are, you know, like minorities or gay, they might not think the same way, but yes. I as a straight white male, the 90s were pretty great. Through
the lens of strictly like pop culture and random crap, the 90s were pretty sweet.
Yeah.
In many, I mean, in any other way, you know, there's always a negative at any time. You can always like, I mean, shit, just watch a 90s comedy and you'll be like, oh,
yeah. No, you're right. You are right there.
Yeah.
Not Third Rock from the Sun.
No, not Third Rock from the Sun is very good.
Yes.
And you know what? Sitcoms kind of didn't really watch a 90s comedy film.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yes.
Let me
90s
see.
comedy film. Yeah.
Comedy.
Yeah.
Road Trip. No, I think that was 2000s or
yeah. Road Trip was 2000s. I think Road Trip was actually the first of the like movies that should suck but ended up being pretty good era of the early 2000s.
The early 2000s had a lot of great comedies that I think will go down as like the last era of the great comedy.
Yeah, and by all accounts, those movies should be fucking garbage. Like Road Trip, that movie should be a piece of shit. Like that. Like,
Super Troopers
also should be a piece of shit.
Anchorman,
phenomenal. What's another one?
Dodgeball.
Dodgeball. Yeah. Euro Trip as well.
I love Euro Trip.
Not another teen movie.
Yes.
One of the funniest movies I've ever fucking seen is Not Another Teen Movie. And like and that movie again also
Prom tonight.
I just jerked off in your French toast. Yeah, like that movie should be shit, but it's so good.
Yeah. All right. Back getting out of the 90s. Getting out of the 90s.
Movies rule.
Considering this podcast started 11 years after the 90s ended.
Yeah, but we're 90s kids.
Yes, we are 90s kids. So I reached out to just our Discord just saying, let us know your favorite bits and any questions, you know, we will read and probably not answer correctly on the podcast for today. So just a little bit of reminiscing for episode 300. As it is, as I said, an arbitrary number.
Yes.
Doesn't really mean anything, but it's kind of like we like to assign meaning to random meaningless things.
Yeah.
It's called the human experience. So Raza, of course, who's been listening to us for years. Favorite bit, the Halloween Lovecraft episode special. It's good stuff. I love that. I still go back and listen to it every Halloween. If you remember that one, I don't know if you remember that.
I have not listened to it in a long time, but I do remember we read spooky stories. That was fun.
We did. It's on YouTube. You guys can look for it. I don't remember, but it was years and years and years ago. I really enjoyed it. And you know what's really funny is every once in a while, someone will contact me and say, "Are you the guy who read the Lovecraft stories?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, it's us." It's really weird. Like, it happened to IRL a couple times, and I use the term IRL, which I feel sad about. Question answered incorrectly. If you were to make an army based on a video nation, what would it be? You said Final Fantasy. This made no sense to me. I think that's you, because you're the only person I know who would say Final Fantasy to that. That's not me.
Yes. So, what I meant was is I would pick one of the Final Fantasy games, and I would make armies out of those nations. So like, what's the fuck? I can't remember shit. I'm gonna get canceled by being a bad Final Fantasy nerd. I can't remember Golbaz and fuck. I can't remember the kingdoms that are at war in Final Fantasy IV. Anyway, there's two fucking kingdoms that are in war in Final Fantasy IV, and what I would do is be like, there you go. There's your two big factions from Final Fantasy IV, and you have your characters for Final Fantasy IV. You know, could you have job classes, blah blah blah. But then when you expand the game, instead of having because obviously a 2-faction game is not sustainable. We all know this. Miniatures games require a minimum, I believe, mathematically, of 4 factions, and that's the minimum to work. Like you that's the level of variety you need to make it work. So there you go. But and then so what I do is then the next release would be, instead of Final Fantasy IV, would be Final Fantasy VI. And you have
what about 5, Steve? You missed 5.
I mean, you could do 5. Final Fantasy V is good. Final Fantasy V is kind of underrated, but yeah, but yes, exactly. That's exactly what
which one is American 2?
American 2 is 5.
Okay, what about American 3? Is that 6?
American 3 is 6.
I like American 3. That was the one I enjoyed the most, probably.
Yeah. I think it is Final Fantasy. No. 4 is 2 in America. 5.
Okay.
5 got skipped. Yeah, it goes 4 then 6. That's 2 and 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I liked American 3 the best.
Yes, that one's very good. That one is a very, very good game.
That one had, I think, when I remember that one from Nintendo Power Magazine,
Mhm.
and looking at that Japanese style art that they did with it.
Oh yeah.
That I absolutely fell in love with that style.
Yes.
I did not become a weeaboo because of it, but I just remember really, really liking that art style.
Yes. That is Yoshitaka Amano Sensei.
Okay.
And
I think, did he do the Dream Hunters for Sandman?
Highly likely.
I might be pulling a racism, but
He did.
Okay.
He did. I had to look that up. But yes, he did do the Dream Hunters for Sandman. But yeah, no, he's got that. I mean, and I think that's actually a really good way to describe his work. It's dreamy. It's very.
It really is. I enjoy that quite a bit.
Yeah, that's his style is like very dreamy. It's very soft.
You could totally see from his stuff on Final Fantasy III how it would inspire the people who would go on to do things like Dark Souls or Kingdom Death.
Oh yeah,
like you could see that evolution.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I love his work. I think he's phenomenal. I think he's one of the best artists like ever. Honestly, like I know that's like that might sound like fucking super nerdy and stupid to say about someone who did art for a video game, but I truly think he's one of the best artists. Period. Like that has ever done an art.
I won't necessarily agree on that level, but I'll say he's a very good artist.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I mean, mine is the guy who does the Rule 34 art. I think his name is Anal Gaper 22.
Oh well, I mean,
I think he's the greatest artist of all time.
We weren't talking about high art. We were just talking about art.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
High art.
Yeah. If we're talking poles and holes, we're talking high art.
Oh, okay. Damas, of course, is another long-term listener. Terminal listener. Terminal listener. My favorite bit was you hosting on Podbean. So every time I'm disturbed listening to the episode, I have no reasonable way to remember where I've gotten up to, and I generally forget to continue. I'm sure I could figure that out somehow, but I'm too old enough to reject this new technology. And my question is, I'll be over 50 by episode 400, and you aren't far behind. Does that depress you? Yeah, kind of, a little bit.
I'm not.
Yeah. No, I use Podbean because guess what? That's what we started on, and I fear change. But but no, and actually I was I don't remember if I talked about this too much on the last podcast. I think I talked about my Ravenloft score at Half Price Books on the last cast. But I did want to like one of the things that I was talking about with some people is how that made me feel. Like it was this beautiful, beautiful collection of Ravenloft books, a full set of all the Ravenloft box sets, all the Ravenloft books. And looking at that made me realize that someone died. Like that's the only thing that I could explain why that was at Half Price Books.
Mm.
Someone died and their family brought it to Half Price Books. They maybe knew its worth and didn't feel like selling it on eBay, or they just didn't care and they just thought like, whatever, these are some RPG stuff. They're probably not worth that much. I don't want that to happen to my family when I die of a massive coronary at the age of 51.
Mm-hmm.
So
come on, 52.
Yeah, 52. Okay. Depends on how much cheese I eat.
Yeah, 52. Let's give you a 52, you know, and then as if anyone is there, you've gotta manage to remember to choke it out, be like, it's a comic book reference. And then they'll be like, wait, 52. Wait, just like the DC series, limited series 52.
Just like that limited series that happened in 2007, right before DC fell apart.
See, there you go.
Exactly. That'd be pretty good. Yeah. So I'm my plan is I'm going to start culling a lot of my collection in the next 10 years before I die of my massive coronary at 52.
Nice. I'm proud of you.
Just only, yeah. So just so that's there. Thank you. But I've already been thinking about my own mortality.
Yeah. Well, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you getting rid of some of your needful things.
Yes. Cruise Taint says, I love the era of shitting on GW and its fans during that rough patch in the teens.
The Finecast era.
Finecast era. And I know what? They totally deserve it.
Yeah.
I will not go back and defend what GW did.
Absolutely not. They were fucking dog shit. I don't know. I think we've always been pretty fair. Like I believe that there's people who always just stroke the cock of GW no matter what. I don't think we are that way. No. I think when GW fucking shits their pants, we point out that they shit their pants. But when they produce a massive, glorious, glistening erection for us to observe, such as the old world, we observe it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. I think what GW did in the teens, and I honestly, I think it was because of like the previous CEO, you know, they just wanted to pump up that company enough to sell it. Mm-hmm. And they wanted to make a massive dividend, and it ended up not happening. And think, yeah, it didn't work. And when the new CEO came in, he turned things around and turned it into a company that we could enjoy supporting. Yeah. Now, they do shit their bed regularly.
Oh, absolutely.
I think the rapid release of new editions of 40K is really ruining that game. I think, yes, it's still a very popular game and people play it, but it feels more like the most pump and dump game I've ever seen in my life.
Pump the brakes a little. Maybe they will. You know, we'll see. I don't know. I'm telling them to pump the brakes a little, not you.
No, I knew what you were talking about.
Yeah, they because I mean, I think from what I've heard, the current edition is decent. They just need to prune it. So hopefully they do that.
Yes.
I mean, like I said, I make fun of 40K all the time. But like, I mean, it's cool. I don't want 40K to fail. I like 40K. I think it's neat. But yeah, I mean, there's.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. It's like I don't want anything to fail. I think that they have made some hysterical blunders. I mean, the Legiones Imperialis, the Legions Imperialis release, I think has been hysterical, to say the least.
Yeah, it's
like
been pretty bad.
The epic bungle that was Curse City, but I don't think that was really their fault. That was more of a shipping issue.
Yeah, that was a logistics one. I will give them credit on that one. That was a logistics issue.
Yeah. The way that they release, but I'll say that they're stupid for the way that they release certain things, like the cards for the old world, like the Bretonnian Tomb Kings, the Battle Magic cards. Like that release was so bungled. Like, yeah, I would have paid for that, right? You would have bought at least the battle cards.
The thing is, without knowing how many were available, I cannot definitively say if that was bungled or not.
I mean, I know enough people didn't get it that it's like they lost out on lots of money.
Oh, for sure.
With their estimations.
I would really like to know what they estimated, though, because I mean, clearly they fucking did not anticipate the reaction that they got. Like, clearly.
this is how we'll know. We'll know because when they release the orcs and they release the orcs cards with it, if they release so many orc cards that it's like you could get them at any time, they underestimated so much that now that they're overcompensating and they're going to have super extra.
Right.
If that makes sense.
We'll see. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I hope they course correct on that because I mean, I really wanted those Tomb King cards.
I did too.
Yeah.
I wanted just the battle magic cards and I couldn't get those.
Yeah. Also, I'd like them to give me a timeline on when that fucking dragon is going to be available because I want that dragon.
Well, no, they want you to buy the army box.
I ain't
before
buying
anything
that.
else.
I ain't buying that army box. That ain't happening. I ain't buying the army box. Like I said, I like the old skeleton models. I think they have a lot of charm. I said it before. I'm going to say it again right now. I'm not fucking building those models again. I did it. The last thing I did a commission army where I built an army that had 200 skeleton spearmen and 100 skeleton archers. After I did that job, the client was super pleased. They gave me a fucking huge tip. I was very happy with my work, but I will never, ever. After that, I was like, never again. I'm never building another one of these fucking models again. It was so bad.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I completely agree. There's actually a good proxy version of that dragon I'll send you that I just saw recently.
Ooh.
I don't know if I have it, but I've seen a good proxy version, so I will try and find it for you.
Ooh.
Just to let you know.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have
unless you want the actual like
so
dragon.
I want one. I want one for sure, but a proxy would probably be great for a second because I don't think I want to do the because one has because you can put a Lich Priest on one and a Tomb King on the other. So I'd probably want one for variety. So yeah, I probably will end up looking into an alternative for the second one. Because yeah, I'm definitely gonna get one of you. I'm gonna get a Lich Priest on one and a Tomb King on one. So yeah, that is something I'd be interested in. But yeah, so I'm super excited about it. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be great. I'm really looking forward to building an army again, like a proper army. I've even got my my unit fillers picked out too. So pretty excited about that.
Yeah. So just to let you know that the cards, the old world reference cards, they are still listed on the website. So they may be coming back.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we'll see. I know that so they have like Lores of Magic reference deck, common magic items reference decks, the Tomb Kings deck, and the Bretonnian deck. They might come back.
Nice.
But we'll see.
Oh, and I forgot to mention there's made to order models right now.
Yeah.
And the prices.
Steve, I know you're high. We just literally talked about this like 5 minutes ago.
No. This is a specific different one, but yes, I am high. The Tomb King with Sword and Shield is only $15.
Yeah,
metal.
well, yeah, we've talked. Like I said, the prices are not outrageous. They're pretty similar to inflation.
I could have sworn that model was $15 when it was new.
I mean, it could very well be. Could very well be. All right, so let's move on. Thy Light. I definitely loved all the discussions about Star Trek cast playing an RPG. It's been a minute since the Shogun made an appearance, and Poopman loved the chat back in the day. Well, we don't talk about Poopman for one very good reason. The gates of Antares have been closed.
Yes, beyond the gates of Antares.
The Poopmen poop their pants.
And the game is gone.
God, what if talk about such a fucking bungled fucking game. Like I think if I could say anything about Game Classy, it's just that we will call out when you bungle a game, and that is a bungled game. That game should have been a universal rule set that you could use any models for.
Yeah,
is what it should have been.
Absolutely.
The proprietary models ruined that game. Warlord did bolt action. They have their own World War II minis, and it's a super popular game. Why is it a super popular game, Steve? Because literally there's a dozen companies putting out World War II minis that you could use.
Yes, that is correct.
So it's like, and the models that they put out for them were super cheap. So you could get almost an entire U.S. Army for under $100, right?
Yes.
Beyond the Gates of Antares came out, all the figures were metal. They looked awful and were ass expensive.
Yes.
So they should have just done
you cannot escape the like your list was bad, but then when you got to ass expensive, it was over.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you can't have all three of those. Like you can't have metal models, ass expensive, and like bad sculpts. You can't have all three together.
It's true.
You could have maybe two, but like if you have really great looking models that are in metal and are expensive, people will buy them. Like look at what's that game? Why can't I think of his name? Fuck, the metal one, the Japanese animation looking one that people sci-fi that people like. What? Yeah, Infinity. Look at Infinity.
Yeah,
those models are great looking. They're expensive, and they're in metal, right?
Yes.
Like you can have shitty looking plastics that. Well, no, I don't think you could have. No, you could have shitty looking plastics that are cheap and people will buy them. Yeah, probably not as much. Like that's one you don't want to go to. You could have good looking plastics that are expensive and people will buy them. That's the GW model right there.
Yes.
But you can't have all three, and that's the reason why the gate's closed.
Yes, that's correct.
The Star Trek RPG is something I still want to do, and actually they did that in a comic. I just posted it to our Discord on the Star Trek page just
Hell yeah.
recently. In a new or maybe I didn't post it. I'm looking right now. I don't see it being posted. I may have put it in. Wait, let me see. Did I put it in RPG instead? I didn't post it. In a new comic, they have Shax. Shax. I think Jack Crusher and 2 other characters that I can't think of right now playing D&D. I'll see if I can find it and post it. But they did do that in a comic book recently. They weren't playing Dungeons and Dragons. They were playing something else, but they were definitely playing it. So there you go. So if you enjoy Star Trek RPG, they literally did that in a recent Star Trek comic.
And there was also the episode of Lower Decks where they were playing that Klingon RPG, which was pretty sweet.
Yes, they did. Well, that wasn't really was it an RPG? I don't know.
Yeah, it was a tabletop game, and the DM was Martok.
Oh yeah,
it was the AI Martok.
They should have actually been playing the old VHS game, is what they should have been playing.
Oh man, that would be fire.
Yeah, that would have been fire. I should get a copy of that next time I see it at Half Price Books, just to get the VHS.
You should.
Yeah, but I gotta stop having so much fucking.
Well, you should get it if you want to play it.
Yeah. Oh, and it wasn't Jack Crusher. It was from it. Okay, so. It is, let's see, it's Shax, Data, Dr. Crusher, not Jack Crusher, and Cisco.
Data.
Yes, Data. All playing Dungeons and Dragons. It was in one of the Star Trek annuals.
Oh man, that sounds great.
Yes, and Spot makes an appearance.
Well, Spot's got to make an appearance.
Yeah, well, shouldn't Spot be dead? Didn't Spot die when the Enterprise crashed into the planet in Generations? I'm just saying. I don't think he did die. I think they found him.
Yeah, I think they did find him, actually.
Yes. But yes, one day we will make our whole audio podcast series about the characters from Star Trek playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
But no one can really do a good Riker impression. We'll just have to use AI of him on that Unsolved Mystery show. Where he just goes, false. Wrong.
We made it. We made it up.
We made it up.
We made it up.
We'll do it. We'll just do the AI of that. It's not really AI so much as it is a soundboard.
I like it. Yeah, we made it up.
Okay.
I did order a Cetra the Imperishable though.
Oh, I have an original.
Yeah. Well, you'll never know that mine's not because it's the same thing.
It's the same thing. Yeah. It's killing off resellers. It's actually kind of wonderful.
Yes. I mean that's good. I mean I do not like resellers.
Yes. Oh no. The one thing that you're a Tomb King player, so you're getting all the models you want. But I have to say that there are a couple models for the dwarves that I really want to pick up.
Mm-hmm.
And one in particular is I have a fine cast Thorgrim Grudgebearer on the Throne of Power.
Mm-hmm.
I want a metal one. I will pay the $75 to get the metal one. I really want that.
Yeah, that's worth it, honestly.
Yeah, that's one of the few figures that I would like shell out for that I don't have that I really want.
Yeah, that's definitely worth it.
There's probably a couple like I think a good stone thrower, like the good dwarf stone thrower, the metal one, I would want as well. But
that was a classic too. Yeah.
I don't have that. Okay, so Katana Guy was always JD Shaloop, another longtime listener. Katana Guy was always a favorite. I also miss hearing the Beyond the Gates of Antari song. Well, you're welcome. Do you
Hey,
do you
we
guys
did it.
think, do you guys think Old World will have staying power once the novelty wears off, or is it going to move to a different game they never actually play, or is everybody going to move to a different game that they don't actually play? I can't say necessarily that it'll have staying power. I think that the way that they do releases is really beneficial for older players. And I think that's kind of who they're courting. I said it before, like people like me who's just like, I can't stand the pump and dump of 40K and AOS. I like a little bit more of a game that's going to remain stable for 5 to 8 years. I don't need a new edition every 5 years or 3 years as they're doing with some of these games.
Yes,
so I like that a little bit more. I like that it's a little bit more laid back, and I really like the way that they're doing the releases. So I think that it's going to have staying power at least for the next 5 years, let's say.
Yeah, the biggest
in terms of players, I don't think that there are going to be a ton of newer players that they're going to add to the player base. I think it might be like a side game for some people, but I don't know about that. I actually, in reality, I don't think it's a game that people are going to be playing a ton of. It's going to be a game that people build armies for and like make really nice looking stuff, but they're not going to play it.
Yes. I think so. For me, I believe that I think it's gonna be a game that a lot of people play. I don't think it's gonna be a game that a lot of people play in stores.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's my games that I played took a long time, but I think that's also because we like to gab when we game, so it's more friendly than like competitive.
Yeah, I think it'll be very much like Horus Heresy, because I mean, I see a lot of people like Horus Heresy has huge tournaments, and there's obviously a massive community of people who play Horus Heresy. I don't think I've ever actually seen people playing a game of Horus Heresy in a store outside of like if they were hosting a tournament.
Yeah, you're right on that one. I mean, Horus Heresy is weird because you don't really, unless you're looking, you don't really know. You just assume they're playing 40K.
That's fair, I suppose.
And I think if I see people playing square bases, I generally think it's Kings of War. So,
yeah, so there you go. So, but I think this one will be. I think this one is going to be a heavily played. I mean, I thought it was going to be, reasonably successful, but man, it blew my expectations away completely. Like the amount of people who just like bought in is crazy.
Yes. All right. So Matt L says it was nice to meet Joe at Adepticon and name checked in the next episode. I will be back one day, I swear, and hopefully Command Throw will make it there too. Schaumburg kind of sucks otherwise. Yes, there's a reason we call it Scumberg.
Yes, I will be available near the coffee shop by my house, and I'm happy to hang out with you outside. I will not be going into a convention.
Steve is not become a recluse.
I've got the Kleenex boxes on my feet and everything.
Yep, jars of pee. But I will be at Adepticon again this year.
No pee jars.
Yeah. I'll be at Adepticon again this year, and it's always nice to meet people. And we don't like advertise or anything or have like big Game Classy t-shirts or anything for us to wear that says like, oh, that's Joe from Game Classy. It's just
sipping.
They're just like, hey, that sounds like a nasal guy from Chicago. That's got to be Joe.
That's funny.
Yeah. But as always, it's like I'm totally cool. I love all of our listeners, except if you're vote Republican.
Dun.
Dun, dun, dun. But I think we've eliminated most of those people from listening to our cast after 300 episodes.
It seems likely.
Singing, Captain Rufus, of course, says singing 80s cartoon theme songs. They're dashing, they're daring, courageous and caring.
Faithful
and friendly with stories to share. All through the forest they sing
out in
chorus, marching along as their song fills the air. Gummy bears
bouncing here and there
and everywhere. High adventures that are beyond compare. They are the gummy bears. Or we could. How about we just do a musical one? Doom doom. Bung, doom, 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 doom. You know what's what we haven't done in a long time?
Cops. Da, 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 da.
No, standing tall
That's a
on the
cartoon, though.
wings of my dreams, rise and fall on the wings of my dreams,
Through rain and thunder, through hail and haze, we're bound.
bound for better days.
Ah,
It's my life, my
My
dream. Nothing's gonna stop me now. I still like the theory that Carl Winslow, because I'm only mentioning this because Family Matters was a spinoff of Perfect Strangers.
It's true. Harry
that
Winslow was the elevator operator.
yes, that Carl Winslow was actually the character from Die Hard. Was
Yeah, Harriet was pregnant with Theo.
yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, no,
Theo.
absolutely.
Wasn't Theo? Theo is from Cosby Show.
Was it?
Yeah. What was his name? Eddie. Eddie was the son.
Eddie. That's
Yes.
right. She was pregnant with Eddie.
Yes. So there you go on that one.
Yes.
Cybo Goblin, God's 300 episodes, and let's not think of the number of years. I think we started in 2011 because I think it was right after my daughter was born. So it's what 13 years at this point. Otherwise, others have already mentioned some of my favorite high points, but I'll always be a fan of the classic intro. Not every podcast bothers with a theme, let alone put that much effort into it. It was also a thrill hearing my name and country get mentioned during an episode. Both of you have done a great job of forming parasocial relationships with the audience, and things that are really like that really help. Yeah, we try to name check and make fun of at least every country that our listeners are from, preferably the UK, with their idea that beans on toast is food. That's what I'll always be the most upset with.
Turf Island.
Turf.
It's Turf Island.
I got someone the other day with the beans on toast thing. I go, the only proper way to do beans on toast is if they're refried beans on a tortilla. And they go, that's not beans on toast. And I go, oh, isn't it? And they get really mad.
I like natto toast a lot. So here's the thing that and like all joking aside, I mean, I do like baked beans, but
I do too.
It's gonna make your toast wet. The baked beans are so sauced. Like, how are you gonna put that on toast? Like the entire point of toast is because it's crunchy.
And you know that the British don't actually spice their baked beans properly, so they're probably like super bland, watery beans.
Even I would say outside of the flavor, like there's nothing. The texture alone, I cannot like. It's like sloppy steaks. Like,
we're gonna put some sloppy steaks.
It's like sloppy steaks. Like, why are you pouring water on the steaks?
You know, Steve, I used to be a real piece of shit.
I used to be a real piece of shit. Slop them up, boys.
And they'll say, "Now, boys, no sloppy steaks tonight."
I don't want to see you doing any of the sloppy steaks. I'm watching you.
But they can't stop you from ordering a glass of water and a steak.
That bit is so good. It's such a non sequitur. I love it.
Yes, it's my favorite bit though. I've been rewatching it with my wife, and my favorite bit is still when he dresses up to do the prank show. And he's just walking out. He's like, I don't even want to be here.
It's just like super depressed. He's like, I don't want to do this. He's like, he's in the fucking old man mask.
He can't do anything. Anyway, but yes, there was actually a thread on Reddit where it was like, hey, Reddit, what food do other countries do wrong? And it was it must have been posted like right during the British workday, because a lot of British people were commenting, and it was like the funniest fucking thing in the world, because they would put down like, the other countries don't do carbonara right. They do this. And then like when the Italians finally found out about it, they went in there and flamed everyone.
That's great.
because it was obviously a British person writing it. And it's like, no, you don't make food like that. This is not how you make food. And by the way, American baked beans are super sweet if you've ever had them. It's because they add a shit ton of brown sugar to them.
Yeah, I prefer baked beans that don't have the brown sugar personally.
Well, I like my baked beans like with the bacon and everything else. That's what I generally like. I like a little bit of the brown sugar. I like a little bit of the sweetness to it, but that's usually with the sauce more than anything. I like a good barbecue sauce. But yeah, it's sometimes they make it overly sweet, which is a problem. All right, so then we have Captain Ginger say micro armor, pico armor. I also remember y'all talking once about making it a minis game with the 80s cartoon characters fighting each other. And between the various Masters of the Universe games and Thundercats figures and 3D printed and whatnot, it's kind of doable. It is the Masters of the Universe game that's out right now. I don't know anybody who's playing it, or I've never seen anybody play it or paint it or do anything with it, but it does exist.
Yeah, it exists. That's all I know about it.
Yeah, and I have said before, I think that Underworlds is a good template for games like that, where it's like you want to do small war bands versus small war bands, and I think that's the most appropriate way to do it on like a game board. However, I do think G.I. Joe Asymmetrical is pretty good as well.
Yeah, G.I. Joe Asymmetrical would be great with just like an absolute fuck ton of Cobra vehicles and stuff.
Yeah, 15 millimeter, I would say.
Yeah, for
Speaking
sure.
of micro armor, that's not really micro armor, but it's close.
Yes.
You could do like a epic style G.I. Joe game, I think, but you wouldn't get the characters for the Joes, which is the problem. Like you want the characters from the Joes.
Yeah, you'd have to do like one of those things where they have an off scale like sideboard thing.
Yeah, that's what we talked about that before.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you could always have like CoverGirl doing like a hacking mission on the side, like you're playing Cyberpunk. Or not Necromancer. What's the fucking game? Why can't I think of it? Cyberpunk game.
Cyberpunk?
Is it just Netrunner? Thank you. You'll have CoverGirl doing Netrunner sideboard.
Yes.
Where she's hacking the system. Damas says, if we're going that far back, Pat B being asked to compare the value of Space Marine Centurions against the Drop Zone Commander Starter set when shelling out 50 pounds is probably my favorite, is standout favorite. I remember that. We were sitting in my basement at that time talking about that, and Pat was like, that's that much money? I'm like, yeah, that's how much it costs.
Yes.
His brain was blown away.
That was good. Yeah, Pat only understands video games.
No, he does. And it's funny because video games are that expensive too.
And now they are, and Pat hates that as he should.
Yeah. And Shinentai says the best bits were always the impromptu singing, of course, and we've already done that several times this episode.
We did.
My question is, in the alternate dimension where Canopy and Warzone are still dominant tabletop mini games, which two sci-fi franchises have replaced Star Wars and Star Trek in getting endless TV shows and films? This is easy for me. What do you think?
I'm gonna say Babylon 5.
Babylon 5.
Babylon 5.
I agree. Babylon 5 is one of mine.
And you know what? Since that sounds kind of like the bootleg universe, Firefly.
Ooh, no, I would say Babylon 5 and Stargate.
Well, Stargate already has a million shows.
It only has 3, and I fucking love Stargate and needs to make a comeback.
That's fine, but Stargate already is that, in my opinion. It already has that many things.
It's the third best star. Well, actually, the second best star thing now after Star Wars has fallen from grace yet again.
It's true.
Has it ever really become anything other than the piece of shit that it is?
Stargate?
No, Star Wars.
Oh, I don't know. Star Wars has some. I watched one of those anime things. It was pretty cool.
Anime with Japanimation? You talking about Japanimation?
Yeah, Afghanistan animation.
Animation.
No, it was. I watched the one with the Jedi Master and his apprentice going to find the Sith Lord on the planet, and they fight. It was cool.
Well, there you go. All right, so that's about it for that. Once again, we want to thank you all for listening for 300 episodes. I'm going to look into it, and we'll see. There might be some surprises with this episode as well. We'll see. I do like that. If you listen back to us, you could definitely hear that how young we were and how horrible our recording equipment was. And the rise and fall and rise and fall and rise of our love for Games Workshop.
It's true.
Yes, it should not exist the way that it does. So if this does not come out tomorrow, I probably have died of a massive coronary heart attack. If it does come out and you don't hear anything after 3:01, you can assume that I died of a massive coronary heart attack. So there's that.
Very good.
All right. So Steve, is there anything else that we need to talk about in terms of gaming?
No.
All right. So you could go to the Game Classy Facebook page. It's the best way to get the link to our Game Classy Discord. It gets up every 2 weeks. It disappears after about a week. So I feel bad about that. I could go up and replace it every week, but so you could get that. That's the best way we reach out to our listeners, and we be parasocial. That's a word that should be in the Webster's dictionary.
I think it is actually.
Stupid. This world we live in is stupid.
But you just got what you requested immediately.
God damn it. That's a problem with this country. We deserve Trump.
So much immediate self-gratification by just asking.
Get my sloppy steaks and get out of here. Just make them nice and sloppy. Yes. So you could also, if you want to see more of my stuff, you could go to my Instagram, which is at Game Classy Joe. You could follow Steve on Blue Sky, where he's at Command Throw.
It's true.
And
I post polls and holes.
Be very careful on that one, guys. Be very careful on that one. The best way you can help out the podcast is subscribe on the iTunes, or you could subscribe on the YouTubes. The YouTubes, I put it up there regardless of anything else, so it's there if you want to listen to it. But aside from that, Steve, until next time, until episode 300 until episode 400.
Dear guests, wow, just wow. We can't believe you were all there at our 300th episode special. It feels like only yesterday we started this journey, and now here we are celebrating this momentous occasion together. Thank you from the depths of our hearts for gracing the stage with your presence. Your attendance made the whole night sparkle like a disco ball in a retro dance club. Your energy, your laughter, your everything just made the whole experience feel like a dream within a dream within a dream. We're still pinching ourselves to make sure it's all real. We hope that you all had as much fun as we did. I mean, who wouldn't have fun with all the chaos and craziness that went down, from surprise guest appearances to the impromptu dance-offs? It was a roller coaster ride of emotions, and we're so glad you were there for every loop-de-loop and hairpin turn. We know we might have rambled a bit on stage, but hey, that's just us being us, right? And you were like beacons of light in the midst of our rambling storm, guiding us through with your smiles and nods of encouragement. You're like the GPS of social interactions, always there to help us navigate the sometimes murky waters of human interaction. So here's to you, our friends, our confidants, our fellow adventurers in the wacky world of entertainment. Thank you for being part of our 300th episode special. And here's to 300 more episodes of shenanigans, laughter, and maybe even a little bit of coherence. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. With eternal gratitude and a sprinkle of confetti, your name.
Later.
Welcome to Game Classy. 4K! Fantasy! It's a war! It's a war!
Elves with lasers and tanks! Oh my stars!
Game Classy.